This is a segment of my scriptural study on the nature of God and existence according to LDS Mormon scripture, called the Totality Model. The full presentation is already on this YouTube channel and lasts an hour and 40 minutes, which I encourage you to watch, but to make it easier to consume in smaller parts and reach more people, I'm uploading the most important sections of the full presentation as individual videos. This video comprises parts 1 to 3, defining the true meaning of light according to the scriptures and how it's connected to truth and intelligence. Part 1. The Foundation, Truth and its Uncreatable Nature. Every framework must begin somewhere, and the framework of existence begins with truth. Not truth as a vague philosophical abstraction, but truth as the Restoration defines it, with a precision that has no parallel in the theology of Joseph Smith's era or our own. Doctrine and Covenants 93, verse 24 states, "And truth is knowledge of things as they are, and as they were, and as they are to come." Note the significance of this definition. It is not truth as mere factual accuracy, nor truth as subjective belief. It is truth as comprehensive knowledge of reality across all time, past, present, and future. The definition bears striking resemblance to Noah Webster's 1828 definition: conformity to factual reality, exact accordance with that which is, or has been, or shall be. But the scripture adds a critical dimension. Truth is not merely a state of reality, but the knowledge of that state. Truth, in its fullest sense, is reality comprehended. Several additional properties of truth are revealed in the same section. Truth is independent. All truth is independent in that sphere in which God has placed it to act for itself. Doctrine and Covenants 93, verse 30. Truth is uncreatable. Intelligence, or the light of truth, was not created or made, neither indeed can be. Doctrine and Covenants 93, verse 29. And truth is abiding. Truth abideth and has no end. Doctrine and Covenants 88, verse 66. Far from being a static collection of facts, truth is a living, operative reality that can never be created, destroyed, or diminished. Equally significant is the scriptural declaration that any departure from truth belongs to darkness. Whatsoever is more or less than this is the spirit of that wicked one who was a liar from the beginning. Doctrine and Covenants 93, verse 25. Truth admits no distortion. Even partial truth, if mixed with falsehood, is characterized as belonging to the adversary. Doctrine and Covenants, section 93, verse 29, is explicit. Intelligence, the light of truth, was not created or made, neither indeed can be. This declaration carries far-reaching consequences. Truth exists independent of any observer. God does not invent truth, He is truth. And through limitless comprehension, God organizes it. This will be explained and justified in Part 10, The Substance of God. The creation account in the Book of Abraham consistently uses the language of organization rather than creation ex nihilo. From Abraham chapter 4, verse 1, "And then the Lord said, Let us go down, and they went down at the beginning. And they, that is the gods, organized and formed the heavens and the earth." And then in verse 24, "And there stood one among them that was like unto God. And he said unto those that were with him, We will go down, for there is space there, and we will take of these materials, and will make an earth whereon these may dwell." So the gods worked with eternally existing materials, intelligence, spirit, element, that predated their creative activity. Joseph Smith captured this principle powerfully in the King Follett sermon. The first principles of man are self-existent with God. God himself, finding he was in the midst of spirits and glory, because he was more intelligent, saw proper to institute laws whereby the rest could have a privilege to advance like himself. God did not create truth, spirits, or the laws that govern progression. He found himself amongst them, not in the literal physical sense, but in a sense of connection and understanding, and, through superior, infinite, glorified intelligence, comprehended and organized them. Doctrine and Covenants section 90 verse 30 describes truth as acting for itself. Truth is not passive information stored in a cosmic database. It is a living, operative, divine totality. Truth abideth and hath no end, and if it be in you it shall abound. Doctrine and Covenants 88 verse 66. This also means that truth possesses a form of agency or consciousness, and the very origin of the Spirit of God and man are fundamentally connected to the correct reality of truth. Truth operates and produces effects within every sphere in which it is placed. As subsequent parts of this framework will reveal, this definition of truth carries implications far beyond epistemology. Part 2. Light. Truth comprehended and applied. With truth established as the foundation, we turn to its most important operative expression, light. Section 88 of the Doctrine and Covenants, described by Joseph Smith as the olive leaf which we have plucked from the tree of paradise, the Lord's message of peace to us, provides the most comprehensive scriptural treatment of light, and in doing so reveals the second foundational definition of this framework. He that ascended up on high, as also he descended below all things, in that he comprehended all things, that he might be in all and through all things, the light of truth, which truth shineth. This is the light of Christ. Doctrine and Covenants 88, verse 6. Which light proceedeth forth from the presence of God to fill the immensity of space, the light which is in all things, which giveth life to all things, which is the law by which all things are governed, even the power of God, who sitteth upon his throne, who is in the bosom of eternity, who is in the midst of all things. Doctrine and Covenants 88, verses 12 to 13. This passage identifies the light of Christ not as a metaphor for goodness or understanding, but as a literal, omnipresent force that simultaneously performs several functions. It fills the immensity of space, gives life to all things, serves as the law by which all things are governed, and constitutes the very power of God. It is also the same light that quickeneth your understandings, meaning that the light which governs planets and sustains physical reality is the very same light that enables conscious comprehension. Notice what has been revealed. Truth, as defined in Part 1, is knowledge of reality. Light is what happens when truth is comprehended and applied. Doctrine and Covenants 88, verse 6, explains this in revolutionary clarity. For Christ to obtain this light, he was, by cosmological necessity, required to ascend above all things and descend below all things, so that he may comprehend all things. And it is this comprehension that enables him to be the light of truth. And this makes complete sense, for what can you do with truth if you do not comprehend it? Nothing. It is incomprehensible to you and might as well be gibberish. But with this comprehension, truth suddenly has power. You can do incredible things with it. Light is truth set into operation. Truth by itself, if uncomprehended, is dormant, inert, essentially dead. But when truth is grasped, understood, and acted upon, when it is given light, it becomes a living, governing force. As Doctrine and Covenants, section 50, verse 24 declares, "That which is of God is light, and he that receiveth light and continueth in God receiveth more light, and that light groweth brighter and brighter until the perfect day." Furthermore, the Scripture explicitly ties comprehension to the mechanism by which Christ is in all and through all things. Because he comprehended all things, he could then be present in all things as the light of truth. This establishes a profound principle. Comprehension is not merely a mental activity, it is an ontological condition. To fully comprehend something is, in a real sense, to be present with it. Part 3. Intelligence. The glory of God and the equivalence chain. With truth and light defined, we arrive at the term that binds them together and reveals the very glory of God. Intelligence, or the light of truth, was not created or made, neither indeed can be. Doctrine and Covenants 93, verse 29. The glory of God is intelligence, or, in other words, light and truth. Doctrine and Covenants 93, verse 36. Here, intelligence is equated with the light of truth, and with light and truth. Together, intelligence is not merely cognitive capacity. As with light, it is the luminous, operative power of truth itself. It is also uncreated and eternal, existing upon self-existent principle. As Joseph Smith taught in the King Follett sermon, furthermore, intelligence varies in degree. And as Abraham chapter 3, verses 18 to 19 says, "If there be two spirits, and one shall be more intelligent than the other, yet these two spirits, notwithstanding one is more intelligent than the other, have no beginning, they existed before, they shall have no end, they shall exist after, for they are nolum," or eternal. The scriptures also use intelligence as a term for individual pre-mortal spirits. "Now the Lord had showed unto me, Abraham, the intelligences that were organized before the world was." Abraham chapter 3, verse 22. Joseph Smith made the connection explicit in the King Follett sermon. Intelligence is eternal and exists upon a self-existent principle. It is a spirit from age to age, and there is no creation about it. Intelligence and spirit in this declaration are not two stages of developmental process, they are synonymous terms for the same eternal reality. The equivalence chain of Doctrine and Covenants, section 93. Doctrine and Covenants, section 93 establishes a series of equivalences that, when assembled, produce a unified framework of remarkable coherence. The key identifications drawn directly from the text are as follows. Verse 9. Christ equals the light and the Redeemer equals the Spirit of truth. Verse 23. Spirit equals the Spirit of truth. Verse 24. Truth equals knowledge of things as they are, were, and are to come. Verse 26, the Spirit of truth equals of God, Christ, equals the Spirit of truth. Verse 29, intelligence equals the light of truth. Verse 36, the glory of God equals intelligence equals the light of truth. These key identifications produce a chain of identity that we can now put in order. Intelligence equals the light of truth, which equals light and truth, which equals the glory of God. And that equals the Spirit of truth, which equals the light of Christ. The glory of God, intelligence, light, truth, and spirit are not merely related concepts occupying different theological categories. They are different names for different aspects of the same underlying reality. This unified identity is the keystone of the entire framework. It means that when the scriptures speak of the glory of God, they are speaking of intelligence. When they speak of the light of truth, they are speaking of the operative power of spirit. When they speak of the Spirit of truth, they are naming the very substance of which consciousness, self-acting beings, are constituted. All of these terms point towards a single, eternal, uncreated, self-existing reality that cannot be manufactured and cannot be annihilated. The reality that underlines all existence is truth. Truth, light, intelligence, spirit are different expressions of the same thing. The scriptures of the Restoration explain this multiple times in undeniable clarity. For the word of the Lord is truth, and whatsoever is truth is light, and whatsoever is light is spirit, even the Spirit of Jesus Christ. Doctrine and Covenants 84, verse 45. The scriptures do not describe these as simply related, but as interchangeable in their fundamental context. For whatsoever is truth is light. Why? Because light is truth, but understood. And when understood, it becomes the light of truth, which is spirit. Ye were also in the beginning with the Father, that which is spirit, even the Spirit of truth. Doctrine and Covenants 93, verse 23. Man was also in the beginning with God. Intelligence, or the light of truth, was not created or made, neither indeed can be. Doctrine and Covenants 93, verse 29. The implications of this equivalence chain extend beyond theological taxonomy. If the glory of God is light and truth, and God possesses a fullness of truth, Doctrine and Covenants 93, verse 26, and eternal spirit is truth, and God has an eternal, uncreated spirit, then God's very substance is truth in its totality. The chain does not merely describe what God has, it describes what God is. This principle, that God is constituted of the very truth the chain identifies, will be explored fully in Part 10, where the framework addresses the fundamental substance and self-existence of the divine being. If you would like to learn more about what LDS scriptures teach regarding the nature and origin of God and existence itself, please watch the full presentation of the totality model linked here.